Double pleasure, double fun. I'm going to hit you with these facts. The Eagles need to possibly draft 2 running backs.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
Scary Cooper, asshole.
Oh, demon! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans. Dallas still stinks. So before I start this video, I want to give you some Eagles breaking news that is just happening now as I was getting ready to upload this video. So I'm going to add this part into it. It is breaking that the Eagles have signed tight end Richard Rodgers to a 2-year deal. Now, this is a great depth signing. You have to have maybe one of the best tight end trios in the National Football League. Ertz, Goddard, and now Rodgers. So Rodgers last year, as you guys know, he got hurt. He didn't really get a chance to show himself. And Goddard got a lot of playing time because of it. Now you add Richard Rodgers that comes back as a depth piece for this Eagles team. I think this is a great signing. So the Eagles, they ink Richard Rodgers, great depth signing, and the Eagles are very, very deep at the tight end position. Now, with that said, let's get to the video. Yo, everybody doing? King Dingbat here. So the draft is like a month away. It's like a month away, and yet the Eagles still do not have a running back. They still have done nothing at the running back position. And I got to tell you, every day that goes by and we get closer and closer to the draft, it seems more and more likely the Eagles are going to address running back in the draft. It just seems like it. Now, there are people out there, there are Eagle fans out there that don't think we need to address the running back situation. They think that Wendell Smallwood came on at the end of the year and he was good. Corey Clement's coming back from injury. Josh Adams, he's going to be better in his second year. You know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. But me, where I stand here, I think we have to upgrade the position. I think that when I look at Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, when I look at those 2 guys specifically, those guys to me are complementary running backs. They're complementary running backs to other running backs that should be on this roster. When you look at Josh Adams to me is a great unknown. He flashed certain talent at certain times. He was very inconsistent. What do we have in him? I don't know. I'm not saying we need to go out and have Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, all of it, but, we don't need to have that to win, okay? I don't think that we have to have a stud star running back, but we have to have an upgrade to what we have. And I think that this is the biggest hole on this team. And like I said, the more and more time goes by, it's looking like the Eagles are going to draft a running back. But what I want to bring up and discuss in this video as an option, as just something to throw out there, a possibility, something to think about. What if the Eagles don't go into this draft and draft just 1 running back? What if they draft 2 running backs? What if they go in and draft 2 running backs? Now here's what I'm thinking. You have 2 guys that were supposed to be your starters last year. You were supposed to have Jay Ajayi. He was supposed to be your first back. And then you were supposed to have Darren Sproles, right? 2 years ago, you had Blunt and then Sproles. Sproles got hurt. The Eagles go out and they get Ajayi. The combination of Ajayi, Clement, and Blunt was a great combination. It was much better than what we have now. But now you have an injured Ajayi who may come back on a 1-year deal, but I don't know how much faith you can put in him as a number 1 back coming back from a torn ACL when his other knee is bone on bone and bad. So I can't trust him fully. Okay, if he wants to be a 3rd back in this offense, okay, fine. But really, we need to replace 2 guys. We need to replace Jay Ajayi, and we need to replace Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles was the dynamic change of pace guy. He could catch out of the backfield. He was fast. He can do everything. Punt returns, catch out of the backfield, line up in the slot, line up in the backfield. He was that kind of guy. And then you had the workhorse in Jay Ajayi or LeGarrette Blount the year before. When Ajayi got hurt, that really hurt the Eagles last year. It hurt them a lot. And then Corey Clement got hurt. So those things hurt. Now you don't have Sproles. Sproles is a free agent. I don't know if he's going to retire. I don't know if the Eagles want to bring him back at his age. But you also have Jay Ajayi, who's out there. Nobody has signed him yet. There's got to be worries about his knee. And will the Eagles bring him back? And if they do bring him back, I don't think they're going to want to bring him back as the main back. So this leads to a possible option of, what if the Eagles did something like this? Let's say they go into the draft, and let's say in the first round, you could take whatever, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, I don't care, whatever. Throw whatever you want out there, except running back. Now in the second round, you take a guy like Darrell Henderson. You get Darrell Henderson, you get him in the second round. Then in, let's say, the fourth round, or you take one of your 2 fourth-round picks, you trade back up into the third round, and then you take another running back. Maybe like a Miles Sanders, if he's still there. Maybe a David Montgomery. There's a lot of backs that you could get. But the idea is to get a complementary back. Get a complementary back to an explosive, dynamic running back like Darrell Henderson, a guy that can maybe get the tough yards, maybe a Benny Snell, something like that. And you draft 2 of these guys, one in the second, one in, let's say, the fourth. Maybe you trade back up into the third, and then you take 2 running backs. Now, think about this. The salary for those 2 guys would be so cheap for the next 3 or 4 years, okay? If they turn out to be legitimate backs, what if Darrell Henderson turns to be he reminds me of a bigger, like a more physical Chris Johnson. That's what Darrell Henderson reminds me of. A more physical Chris Johnson. He's fast like that. And what happens if you get him and then a Benny Snell? I always say Benny Snell. Why do I always say Benny Snell? Benny Snell. Okay, he reminds me of Deuce McAllister for the New Orleans Saints, or Miles Sanders, who I love, absolutely love. But if you had 2 of these guys, one to replace the Jai Blunt role, and then one to replace the Sproles role, okay? And then you bring both those guys in, and let's say they're both good. Let's say they're both franchise-type backs. You have them for 3 or 4 years, paying them combined, I want to say less than $6-7 million, less than $5 million possibly. I think the first year for a second round pick, I want to say the cap hit is like $1.6 million, something like that. It'll be even less for a third round running back. So if you could get 2 running backs, okay, the great thing about this is you're getting 2 young guys who have a lot of potential. One of them is explosive and dynamic. One of them is big and physical and can run perfectly in your system. David Montgomery would be a perfect fit for the Eagles. Him and Darrell Henderson. And you have that combination. You rotate Corey Clement in, keep Josh Adams. Maybe you let Smallwood go. Maybe you keep him. You let those guys battle in camp. But the thing about this is I'm looking at this in terms of putting people who are going to be together with Carson Wentz for 4-5 years, okay? And not only that, but they're not going to kill you cap-wise. You're not going to have to pay a running back $8-10 million a year. You don't have to do that. You now have 2 running backs that are making less than like $5 million a year for like 3-4 years. I think that this is a great idea for the Eagles. This is something I think the Eagles really, really need to consider. Now, they can still go defensive line in the first round. They could go second round. They could go running back, and they could go linebacker. I mean, I don't think they'll go linebacker that early, but I'm just throwing it out there. But if you get a second round running back, I think a Darrell Henderson goes in the second round. Then you get like a Miles Sanders or David Montgomery. I think those guys probably go in the third round, maybe fourth. Okay, somewhere in that area. If you could get 2 of those guys. Now, I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of backs out there. So you tell me what combinations you like, you don't like. But this is something that I think the Eagles should really consider doing. And I think they might. You know, maybe they don't go, maybe they go second and fifth round. But the idea is to get 2 running backs to fill the Jay Ajayi LeGarrette Blount role, you know, and then the Darren Sproles role. And I think Darrell Henderson could replace I think he could fit that Darren Sproles role, and I think a David Montgomery and Miles Sanders could be that other back for you that can get you tough yards. Miles Sanders, to me, can do it all, by the way. I think this kid is really, really good. I think he's really talented. Darrell Henderson, for those that don't know, he's very, very explosive. I think he ran twice at the combine I saw. The first one was really bad. He ran like a 4.5. It was just a bad run. His second run was like a 4.36. He's fast. This guy's fast. I think he's the most explosive running back in the draft, okay? He reminds me, like I said, of a big physical Chris Johnson. That's what he reminds me of. Miles Sanders reminds me, in some ways, he could do a lot of things Barkley can, but just not nearly as good as Barkley. I mean, Barkley to me is the best running back in football. I say that after his rookie year. It's just the truth. But I think that if the Eagles did something like this, okay, you would have two rookies. You have a Corey Clement, maybe you keep Smallwood, maybe you don't. Maybe this is when you bring LeGarrette Blount back to mentor these guys, you know what I mean, for 1 year. But if you get two young guys who can play the running back position and play this year and take on the two roles that we had with Blount, Ajayi, and Sproles, I think you're fine. Now, I say Blount Ajayi because I'm talking about the 2017 season and then what we were supposed to get out of Ajayi in 2018. 2018, he was supposed to be our lead back. He was going to be the main guy, and then Sproles would have been that secondary guy. But, Ajayi got hurt, and Sproles did not look like Sproles, okay? He just doesn't look like he had it. He's older now. I think that this is something I really, really, really like. The more I think about drafting two running backs, and in mid-rounds, early second and then mid-round between third and fifth round, I think is the way to go. Because if they work out, if you get the right guys, you now have, for the next 3 or 4 years, you have to hardly pay anything at the running back position, and you got two guys who are studs. And I think that put that around Carson Wentz is the right idea. So just wanted to throw this out there. We haven't talked a lot about drafting two running backs. People have mentioned it in the comments, and I thought it was a great idea. And the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I said, you know what, there's something to it. So shout out to all you guys who have brought that up in the comment sections before, because you got me thinking, and I like it. I like the idea a lot. So tell me what you guys think. Should the Eagles draft two running backs in the draft this year? I think so. I think Darrell Henderson, and then go for like a David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, somebody like that. Even if you have to trade back up in the third round, get it done, secure the running back position, get it at a cheap price for the next 3 or 4 years, and then we go from there. So let me know what you guys think. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat. Oh yeah, one more thing. Today is opening day in baseball. And I gotta just say this. I gotta say this right now. Go Fighting Phils!